What do verse jumping, a cooking blog, and Maria from The Sound of Music have to do with ADHD? Hi there, I'm Izabelle and this is my video essay for my film history class. For this video essay, I'll be looking into 3 adult female characters from 3 different movies who are widely acknowledged to be undiagnosed ADHD. I'll also explore the ADHD theory behind the phenomenon Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and discuss why I believe this movie might be the best show-don't-tell example of ADHD in cinema. The characters I'll be taking a closer look at are Maria from The Sound of Music, Julie from Julie and Julia, and Evelyn from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Let's start with the 1965 film The Sound of Music. Maria is introduced to us as a nun who speaks her mind and is always late or distracted. How do you solve a problem like Maria? You send her to be a governess at the home of a widowed naval captain so she can turn his 7 strict disciplined children into, well, actual children. The captain does get mad at her, but they fall in love and end up together. Julie and Julia moves between the true stories of Julie Powell and the famous cook Julia Child, but we'll focus on Julie. Julie has a soul-killing job in post-9/11 New York City, but she loves to cook and deep inside she wants to be a writer. So to feel better about her life, she puts both her passions together and starts this crazy project. Make all 524 recipes in Julia Child's landmark cookbook in 365 days and document her journey, full of literal sweat and tears, on a blog, which, by the way, she turned into a book deal that eventually became this movie deal. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is truly everything, everywhere, all at once. And so is our main character, Evelyn. She's a middle-aged immigrant woman running a laundromat with her sweet husband, and she's frustrated with every aspect of her life. While being audited by the IRS, she finds out she needs to go on a multiverse saga to stop nihilist Jobu from destroying all the universes, because apparently she's the only Evelyn out of all Evelyns in all multiverses who can do it, because she is the least successful of all Evelyns. So through distractions and verse jumps, our Evelyn goes on and accomplishes the task that was given to her. Spoiler, turns out that what she really needed to save were all the relationships she screwed up, and Jobu is actually her daughter. I figured I can't convince you that a character or a movie is ADHD without first explaining what ADHD or attention deficit hyperactive disorder actually is, but I will skip the biased, outdated, white boy focused diagnostic description and jump right to what it can be or feel like to have an ADHD brain. Because while many people think it's about being unable to sit still or getting easily distracted, ADHD is much more than that. It's struggling with impulsivity, it's having difficulty starting a task even when you're not trying to avoid it, but it's also having the ability to hyper-focus on an activity and finish it faster than others would. It's being a multi-talented person who got the worst grades in school. It's constantly beating yourself up, feeling like a failure, and struggling with low self-esteem. Doesn't matter if society looks at you as if you are indeed a failure or as a role model, because to cope with all your struggles, you became an overachiever. And while some people with ADHD are really successful in their profession, others jump from one job or business to another, confusing hobbies with career paths, often not finishing what they started. The list goes on. The truth is, no ADHD brain is made equal, and no ADHD person experiences things the same. If you Google characters with ADHD movies, you'll most likely find Maria from The Sound of Music and Julie from Julie and Julia among the examples. In Julie and Julia, the character herself says she thinks she has ADD when talking about why she needs a deadline for her project. She says that otherwise it will be like everything else she's tried to do. She won't finish it. She talks about her frustration with her life as if she is a failure. She shows signs of low self-esteem and rejection-sensitive dysphoria, and her commitment to the project is actually what we call hyperfocus, which, along with that deadline she wisely requested, leads her to actually finish all 524 recipes in 365 days. In The Sound of Music, Maria is a typical troubled girl who is always late and with her head in the clouds. She doesn't seem to put any thought into it when she opens her mouth. She struggles with discipline, and she might not be the ideal candidate for being a nun, But she's got more than enough energy to keep all those 7 children entertained and happy. Julie might be more the shy, calm type, while Maria is more outspoken and hyper, but both these characters present traits of ADHD. And if we pay attention to the plot from this perspective, both have experienced failure and success that we can attribute to their ADHD brain. While both Julie and Julia in The Sound of Music do a decent job portraying these ADHD characters, these movies tell more than they show. Show don't tell is one of the most well-known principles of storytelling, and for good reason. It's through showing, not telling, that we convey emotion in a story. Here's a perfect description of what show don't tell is. To show, not tell, means to make the audience feel the information you are giving them rather than just knowing it. Our characters, Julie and Maria, made us aware they are ADHD, especially Julie, who literally says it. They gave us the information, but we didn't feel it, or at least I didn't. And that's okay, I don't believe it was the filmmaker's intention anyway. However, when it comes to ADHD representation on the screen, just giving that information won't make it compelling enough. In Everything Everywhere All at Once, Evelyn is a character with many layers to explore, but we will stick to what we've been discussing so far. In the first scene at the IRS, Evelyn's father says that she's always daydreaming and never finishes what she started. The IRS agent lists all the things Evelyn might be doing professionally based on the business expenses she presented. And finally, her husband says she confuses hobbies for businesses, which is code for switching interests often. Just from this one scene, we can tell Evelyn presents traits of ADHD. But what's different about this character compared to Maria and Julie is that, though it's never acknowledged in the movie, Evelyn was intentionally written as undiagnosed ADHD, and ADHD became part of the plot. In this article, literally titled The Daniels on the ADHD Theory of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the duo who wrote and directed the movie talked about the early days of writing the script and how the ADHD idea happened. Daniel Kwan said, quote, "We should probably do a little bit of research about ADHD. Maybe the main character is undiagnosed and they don't know it," which the other Daniel responded by saying, quote, "Maybe she's so distractible she can go to other universes with her brain." So what do verse jumping and being audited by the IRS have to do with ADHD? And how does this movie show, not tell? Those mind splits and verse jumps are basically showing Evelyn is spacing out. Her mind is everywhere. She's thinking about everything, like her brain has a bunch of open tabs. Throughout the movie, we get to know different versions of Evelyn from other universes. An opera singer, a chef, a badass martial arts who becomes a famous actor, or the version of Evelyn as Michelle Yeoh herself. This is a representation of all the things she could have been and accomplished if she only could focus. The whole IRS thing with all the business's expenses she shouldn't be claiming, having many interests turning into hobbies that get confused as career paths or businesses, this shows a reality for many ADHDers. She's not able to focus and get good at one thing or anything, which, by the way, according to Alphaverse Wayman, that's why she's the right Evelyn for the task of saving all the universes. She's bad at everything, which makes her capable of anything when she finally focuses her mind to access the skills of the other Evelyns. Last but not least, Everything Everywhere All at Once is chaos. It's overwhelming, and more often than not, so is the ADHD mind. The truth is, I can explain to you what ADHD is and give you examples as much as I want. You still think I'm just talking about a hyper person with impulsivity issues. But when you sit down to watch this movie and you feel so overwhelmed by it that your head hurts, and at the end I look you in the eyes and say, this is what I experience in my mind most of the days. This is ADHD. Chances are much higher that you will get it. That is the power of using storytelling to show what something that can't be explained feels like, instead of merely giving your audience the information. That is showing, not telling. It makes you feel. That's why Everything Everywhere All at Once, in my opinion, is much more compelling. Though I do feel seen through Maria in The Sound of Music and Julie, in Julie and Julia, the level of relatability I feel with Evelyn is incomparable. I believe Everything Everywhere All at Once achieved something extraordinary by making the audience feel what it is to have ADHD through their chaotic, overwhelming narrative. The way I see it, if you pick up an ADHD brain and smash it against the wall, you will get Everything Everywhere All at Once. While The Guardian said this movie is, and I quote, a genre-defying cinematic monolith for the ADHD generation, to me, Everything Everywhere All at Once might be the best show-don't-tell example of ADHD in cinema. I chose this topic because ADHD in women can manifest differently from the biased, outdated, white boy-focused diagnosis criteria, and many of us go on with our lives undiagnosed, like our three characters. But just like Julie turns up her life when she commits to her deadline and Evelyn gets close to achieving her full potential once she gains awareness and focus, learning your ADHD is key to understanding yourself. As one of the directors, Daniel Kwan, said, it's such a beautiful, cathartic experience to realize why your life has been so hard. He was talking about getting his ADHD diagnosis already in his 30s while writing the movie, actually. And if you haven't figured out yet, I'm ADHD. I was also diagnosed in my 30s, and I 100% relate to what Kwan said. So while talking about ADHD is important, using storytelling to show what ADHD is like allows the viewers who are possibly undiagnosed to relate and perhaps seek answers about themselves, and the viewers who might know someone who's ADHD to better understand them. As they say, representation matters. Many people see Everything Everywhere All at Once as this weird sci-fi movie that won a bunch of Oscars, but in reality, it became a medium that serves to spark important conversations, ADHD being just one of them. I hope you liked my film history video essay on ADHD in cinema. In the video description, you'll find all sources for this video, including a link with a visual data analysis of the film. Thank you for watching.